Captain Lee Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the exploration ship New Seoul, watching the stars through the main view screen. The ship had been traveling for 3 months, mapping new star systems and looking for signs of life. It was humanity's first mission beyond their home solar system, and Tae-ho felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "Captain, we're approaching the Kepler 442 system," said Navigator Kim So-ra from her station. She was young but skilled, one of the best pilots in the Earth Defense Force. All scans show normal stellar activity. "Good work, So-ra. Take us to standard orbit around the 4th planet. Let's see what we can find," Tae-ho replied. The New Seoul was not a large ship by human standards. It measured only 800 meters from bow to stern and carried a crew of 150. Most of the ship was dedicated to scientific equipment, laboratories, and long-range sensors. The humans had built it for exploration, not war. Chief Engineer Park Jun-ho looked up from his console. "Captain, all systems running smooth. The fusion drive is working perfectly, and our power levels are at 100%. Communications Officer." Choi Mi-jin sat quietly at her station, monitoring all frequencies for any unusual signals. She had been doing this job for 5 years and had never detected anything that wasn't natural space noise or human transmissions. That was about to change. "Captain," Mi-jin called out suddenly, her voice tight with excitement. "I'm picking up artificial signals, multiple sources, very strong. They're coming from the outer edge of the system." Tae-ho moved to her station quickly. "What kind of signals?" "Communication frequencies, power emissions, and—" "Oh my." Mi-jin's eyes widened as she looked at her readings. "Captain, these are massive. Whatever is out there is big, really big." "Put it on screen," Tae-ho ordered. The main view screen flickered and then showed space near the edge of the star system. At first, it looked empty. Then the computer enhanced the image, and everyone on the bridge gasped. Ships. Dozens of enormous ships floating in perfect formation. Each one was the size of a small city, stretching over 15 kilometers in length. They were dark and angular, covered in weapon ports and sensor arrays. Strange lights pulsed along their hulls in patterns that seemed almost alive. "Those are warships," Jun-ho whispered. "Look at all those weapons. Each one of those ships could destroy a planet." So-ra ran quick calculations on her computer. "Captain, I count 47 vessels. The smallest one is still 10 times bigger than our ship. The largest—" She paused, checking her numbers again. "The largest is over 20 kilometers long." Tae-ho studied the alien fleet with calm eyes. He had been a military officer for 20 years before joining the exploration service. He knew warships, when he saw them, and these were built for one purpose: to scare other species into submission. "Mi-jin, are they trying to communicate with us?" he asked. "Yes, sir. I'm receiving a transmission on multiple frequencies. It's being translated by our computers now." "Put it through." The view screen changed to show the interior of one of the alien ships. The being that appeared was tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. It wore what looked like a military uniform covered in symbols and decorations. When it spoke, its voice was deep and commanding. "I am Fleet Commander Vextar of the Vialtharian Empire. You have entered our territory in your primitive vessel. I demand you identify yourselves immediately." Tae-ho stepped forward, his hands clasped behind his back. "I am Captain Lee Tae-ho of the Earth ship New Seoul. We are explorers from the planet Earth. We mean no harm and were not aware this system was claimed by your empire." Vextar's large eyes seemed to study the human captain. "Earth? We have no record of this world. You claim to be explorers, yet you travel in what appears to be a military vessel. Our ship is designed for long-range exploration. We carry scientific equipment and defensive weapons only." The alien commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "Defensive weapons? Your entire ship is smaller than our shuttle bays. Observe, human, the power of the Valtharian Empire." The view screen split to show both Vextar and the external view of his fleet. The massive ships began to move into an attack formation. Their hulls lit up with energy as weapons systems came online. The display was meant to be terrifying, and it would have been to most species. "These are our dreadnoughts," Vextar continued. "Each one carries 50,000 warriors, and enough firepower to reduce a world to ash. Our fleet has conquered 200 systems and brought 500 species under our rule. All kneel before the might of Valtharia. On the bridge of the New Sol, the human crew watched the display with professional interest rather than fear. Junho leaned over to Sora and whispered, "Those ships are huge, but look how slow they move. And all those lights and decorations, they're built to look scary, not to fight." Sora nodded quietly. "The weapons look impressive, but they're all external mounts. One good hit to their weapon arrays and they'd be helpless." Taeho heard his crew's comments but kept his face neutral as he responded to the alien commander. "Your ships are indeed impressive, Commander Vextar. However, I must inform you that we are here on a peaceful mission. We have no intention of challenging your empire." "Peaceful?" Vextar's voice rose. "You dare to remain calm in the face of our power? Every species in this galaxy trembles when they see our fleet. You should be begging for mercy. We respect your strength, Commander. However, I need to consult with my government before making any decisions. May I request a brief communication break?" Vextar stared at the human captain for a long moment. No species had ever asked for time to think when faced with Valtharian might. They usually surrendered immediately or tried to run. This strange, calm response puzzled him. "Very well, human. You have one of your hours to consider your position. Use this time wisely. The Valtharian Empire does not offer mercy to those who refuse to submit." The transmission ended, and the bridge fell quiet. Mi Jin was the first to speak. "Captain, should I send a message to Earth Command?" Taeho smiled slightly. "Yes, but not the kind of message our alien friends expect. Send a priority alert to the defense fleet. Tell them we've made first contact, and we may need backup." "Sir?" Sora asked. "Are we really going to fight ships that big?" Taeho looked at the alien fleet on the screen. "Sora, those ships were built to look dangerous. Our ships were built to be dangerous. There's a difference." Junho chuckled softly. The aliens seem to think bigger is better. They're about to learn why humans have a different philosophy. As the crew prepared their communications to Earth, none of them seemed worried about the massive alien fleet. They had seen the enemy's capabilities, and they were not impressed. The Valtharians were about to discover that in the galaxy of warfare, size was not always the most important factor. The hour was ticking away, and soon both species would learn what the other was truly capable of. The hour had passed, and Fleet Commander Vextar opened communications with the human ship again. His large black eyes showed annoyance as he looked at Captain Lee Taeho on the view screen. "Well, human? Have you considered your position? Are you ready to surrender your vessel and submit to the Valtharian Empire?" Taeho stood calmly on his bridge, his hands still clasped behind his back. "Commander Vextar, we have contacted our government. They are sending a response fleet to this location. We hope this can be resolved peacefully." The alien commander's expression changed to one of disbelief, then anger. "Response fleet? You dare to threaten us with your primitive technology? How many ships are you sending? 10? 20? The exact number is classified, but I assure you they are adequate for the situation." Vextar made that sound like laughter again, but this time it was filled with contempt. "Adequate? Human, you clearly do not understand what you face. Perhaps a demonstration will help you see reason." The view screen switched to show the external view of the Valtharian fleet. The massive ships began to move in perfect formation toward a nearby asteroid field. Their hulls glowed with building energy as hundreds of weapon systems came online. "Watch carefully, primitive creature." Vextar's voice came over the speakers. "This is what happens to those who oppose the Valtharian Empire." The alien fleet opened fire on the asteroid field. Massive beams of energy lanced out from the dreadnoughts, each beam as wide as a building. The beams struck the asteroids and turned them into glowing plasma. Secondary explosions lit up space as the rocks were completely destroyed. The display lasted for several minutes. When it was over, the entire asteroid field had been reduced to glowing dust. The Valtharian ships had fired in perfect coordination, their beams creating a light show that could be seen from across the star system. On the bridge of the New Sol, the human crew watched the demonstration with professional interest. Engineer Park Jun-ho made some notes on his tablet and shook his head. Impressive light show, he said quietly to navigator Kim So-ra. But did you see how long it took them to charge those weapons? And the power waste is incredible. So-ra nodded. The coordination was good, but those beams are so wide they would miss any moving target. And look at the heat signatures. Their ships are glowing like stars now. They'll need hours to cool down. Communications officer Choi Mi-jin was running calculations on her computer. Captain, she said in a low voice, I've analyzed their firepower. The entire alien fleet together has about the same destructive power as one of our heavy cruisers. Tae-ho kept his expression neutral as Vextar's image returned to the screen. The alien commander looked very pleased with himself. Did you see? Human. That is the power of the Valtharian Empire. Your entire world could be destroyed in minutes if we chose to do so. Now do you understand your position? That was indeed an impressive demonstration, Commander. Your weapons are very bright. Vextar frowned at the human's calm response. Bright? They are the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. Every species that has seen this demonstration has immediately surrendered. I see. Well, as I mentioned, our response fleet is on the way. They should arrive within the next few hours. The alien commander's anger was growing. You still do not understand. How many ships are you sending? Your largest vessels cannot be more than a few 100 meters long. We will crush them like insects. Our ships are built to different specifications than yours, Commander. I think you may be surprised. Vextar's tactical officer, a similar-looking alien with fewer decorations on his uniform, leaned forward to whisper in his commander's ear. Vextar listened, then turned back to the human captain. My tactical officer reminds me that some primitive species are too stupid to understand when they are beaten. Perhaps you're simply too ignorant to feel proper fear. This is unfortunate but not uncommon. On the New Seoul's bridge, engineer Jun-ho had to cover his mouth to hide a smile. Did he just call us too stupid to be scared? Apparently, So-ra replied quietly. Should we be insulted? Captain Tae-ho maintained his diplomatic tone. Commander, we are not stupid or ignorant. We simply have different experiences with warfare than your empire. Our response fleet will arrive soon, and I hope we can resolve this situation without further conflict. Different experiences? Vextar laughed loudly. Human, your species has never seen ships like ours. You have never faced weapons of such power. When your tiny fleet arrives, we will destroy it in seconds. Then you will understand. The transmission ended, and the bridge fell quiet for a moment. Then Jun-ho spoke up. Captain, I've been analyzing their ship designs. They're built for intimidation, not efficiency. All those external weapons make them vulnerable, and their power systems are completely exposed. Mi-jin looked up from her console. I've been monitoring their communications. They're not even encrypting their tactical channels. Their security is terrible. So-ra pulled up a tactical display. Their formation is designed to look impressive, but it's actually very poor for combat. They're bunched together like targets. Tae-ho nodded. What's your assessment, Jun-ho? Could our ships handle this fleet? The engineer thought for a moment. Captain, one of our destroyers could probably take on their entire fleet. Their ships are big, but they're not built for real combat. They're built to scare primitive species into surrendering without a fight. And if the species doesn't surrender, then they have a problem. Those ships are slow, inefficient, and vulnerable. They're like ancient sailing ships trying to fight modern submarines. Mi-jin received a priority message on her console. Captain, I'm getting a transmission from Earth Defense Command. The response fleet has arrived at the edge of the system and is moving to our position. How many ships? Just 3, sir. The destroyer Busan Lightning, the heavy cruiser Gwangju Thunder, and the battleship Incheon Fury. Tae-ho smiled. 3 ships should be more than enough. Mi-jin, open a channel. To the fleet commander. Aye, sir. The view screen showed the bridge of the destroyer Busan Lightning. Lieutenant Commander Yoon Da-hai appeared on screen. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for aggressive tactics. Captain Lee, this is Commander Yoon. We've analyzed the alien fleet on our approach. Are they seriously trying to intimidate us with those museum pieces? They seem to think their size advantage is decisive, Commander. Size advantage? Yoon laughed. Captain, those ships are so big and slow, they're basically stationary targets. My destroyer alone could take them all out. Captain Shin Woo-jin's voice came over the communication channel from the heavy cruiser. Commander Yoon, let's not be too hasty. We should give them a chance to surrender first. Always the diplomat, Captain Shin, Yoon replied. But yes, we should follow proper protocol. Tae-ho looked at his crew. Well, it seems our backup has arrived. Let's see if Commander Vextar is ready to negotiate now. The aliens were about to learn that humanity had a very different approach to building warships. While the Veltharians built monuments to their power, humans built tools for war. The difference was about to become very clear. The 3 human warships approached the alien fleet in a loose formation. To the Veltharians watching on their sensors, the human vessels looked tiny and insignificant compared to their massive dreadnoughts. Fleet Commander Vextar studied the approaching ships from his command center. His tactical officer stood beside him, reading from a data tablet. Commander, the human ships are much smaller than expected. The largest measures only 200 meters in length. The smallest is barely 400 meters. They pose no threat to our fleet. Vextar nodded. Just as I thought. The humans are either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Open communications with their lead vessel. On the bridge of the destroyer Busan Lightning, Lieutenant Commander Yoon Da-hai received the incoming transmission. She was a compact woman with short black hair and intense eyes. Her crew of 200 was highly trained and experienced in combat operations. This is Fleet Commander Vextar of the Veltharian Empire. I demand you identify your vessels and state your intentions. Yoon looked at the alien commander on her view screen. I am Lieutenant Commander Yoon Da-hai of the Earth Defense Force Destroyer Busan Lightning. We are here to escort our exploration vessel safely out of this system. Escort? Vexatar's voice showed disbelief. Your 3 tiny ships are going to escort anything past the might of the Veltharian Empire? Human, you must be joking. I never joke about military matters, Commander. From the heavy cruiser Gwangju Thunder, Captain Shin Woo-jin joined the conversation. He was older than Yoon, with gray hair and a calm demeanor that came from years of experience. Commander Vextar, this is Captain Shin Woo-jin. Perhaps we can resolve this situation peacefully. We have no desire for conflict with your empire. Vextar looked at the 2 human officers on his screen. Captain Shin, your politeness is noted. However, you have entered our territory with warships. This is an act of aggression. Our ships are here for defensive purposes only, Shin replied. We will leave your territory as soon as our exploration vessel is safe. The alien commander's tactical officer whispered something in his ear. Vextar nodded and turned back to the humans. My officers are curious about your ships. They appear to be military vessels, but they are so small. How many weapons do they carry? How many crew members? Yoon and Shin exchanged glances on the split screen. Captain Shin answered carefully. Our ships are built for efficiency, Commander. We carry enough weapons and crew to accomplish our missions. Efficiency? Vextar laughed. Human, efficiency means nothing against overwhelming power. Look at our fleet. Each of our dreadnoughts carries 50,000 warriors and 500 heavy weapons. Your largest ship could fit inside our shuttle bay. On the bridge of the battleship Incheon Fury, Admiral Kim Jae-sung had been listening to the conversation. He was the senior officer of the human fleet, a veteran of many conflicts. His ship was the most powerful of the 3, though still much smaller than the alien vessels. Commander Vextar, the Admiral's deep voice joined the conversation. I'm Admiral Kim Jae-sung. You seem very proud of your large ships. May I ask how long it takes them to change direction? The question puzzled the alien commander. Change direction? Why does that matter? Our ships are powerful enough to destroy any enemy before movement becomes necessary. I see. And how quickly can your weapons target a fast-moving object? Our weapons can destroy anything in this star system. Speed is irrelevant against such power. Admiral Kim nodded thoughtfully. Commander, your ships are indeed impressive. However, I think there may be some fundamental differences in our military philosophies. Vextar's expression grew suspicious. What do you mean? Your ships appear to be built for intimidation. They are large, heavily armed, and designed to frighten enemies into surrender. This is an effective strategy against most species. Of course it is effective. No species has ever successfully resisted our fleet. That may be because you have never faced a species that developed military technology through constant warfare with their own kind. The alien commander frowned. What are you talking about? Admiral Kim leaned back in his command chair. Commander, humanity spent thousands of years fighting wars against other humans. Every weapon we built had to work against enemies who were just as smart, just as determined, and just as innovative as we were. Lieutenant Commander Yoon picked up the explanation. We couldn't rely on intimidation because our enemies weren't easily scared. We had to build ships that could actually win battles against equal opponents. Captain Shin added, Our military doctrine is based on speed, precision, and efficiency. We learned that the most dangerous enemy is the one who looks harmless. Vexitar was becoming agitated. You speak as if your tiny ships could threaten our mighty fleet. This is impossible. Commander, Admiral Kim said quietly, let me ask you another question. How many species have ever fired back at your fleet? None, of course. They surrender when they see our power. So your ships have never been tested in actual combat against a determined enemy. The alien commander's face showed anger. Our ships are the most powerful in the galaxy. We have conquered 200 systems. By intimidation, not by fighting, there's a difference. On the bridge of the New Sol, Captain Taeho watched the conversation with interest. His crew was also listening carefully to the exchange between the human fleet and the aliens. Engineer Park Jun-ho shook his head. Those alien ships are built like parade floats, all show and no substance. Navigator Kim Sora was studying the tactical displays. Look at their weapon mounts. They're all external and unprotected. One good hit would disable most of their firepower. Communications Officer Choi Mi-jin was monitoring the alien fleet's internal communications. Captain, they're getting nervous. Their commanders are arguing about whether to attack or not. Back on the communication channel, Vextar's patience was running out. Enough of this talk. Humans, you will surrender your ships immediately or we will destroy you. Admiral Kim's voice remained calm. Commander, I strongly advise against that course of action. You advise? You dare to give advice to the commander of the Valtharian Empire? Lieutenant Commander Yoon spoke up. Commander, your ships are impressive for intimidation, but they weren't built for real combat. If you attack us, you're going to learn the difference between looking dangerous and being dangerous. Vextar's anger exploded. Impossible! Our weapons can destroy planets. But can they hit a target moving at 30% light speed? Yoon asked. The alien commander paused. What? Captain Shin explained patiently. Commander, our ships are built for combat maneuverability. We can accelerate, decelerate, and change direction faster than your sensors can track. And our weapons, Admiral Kim added, are designed to penetrate heavy armor at extreme range. We don't need to get close to destroy our targets. Vextar looked at his tactical officer, who was frantically checking his instruments. The officer whispered something that made the commander's eyes widen. What do you mean you can't get a target lock on their ships? The conversation was interrupted by alarms sounding on the alien flagship. The tactical officer's voice was panicked as he reported to his commander. Sir, the human ships are moving, but their engine signatures don't match anything in our database. They're accelerating at impossible rates. Vextar looked at the tactical display and saw something that made his blood run cold. The 3 small human ships were moving in patterns that defied everything he knew about space combat. They were fast, agile, and completely unpredictable. Commander, Admiral Kim's voice came over the speakers. You have 5 minutes to withdraw your fleet from this system. After that, we will consider you a hostile force and act accordingly. For the first time in his military career, Fleet Commander Vextar began to understand that he might have made a serious mistake. Fleet Commander Vextar stared at his tactical display in disbelief. The 3 human ships were moving in ways that his sensors said were impossible. They accelerated and turned without following any known laws of physics. Sir. his tactical officer reported with a trembling voice. The human ships are somehow generating artificial gravity fields that allow them to make turns at full speed. Our computers cannot predict their movement patterns. Vextar's pride would not let him back down. It doesn't matter how fast they move. Open fire on all targets. Destroy them immediately. The massive Valtharian fleet turned its weapons toward the human ships. Hundreds of energy beams lanced out across space, creating a deadly web of destruction. The alien weapons were powerful, enough to vaporize asteroids, and they fired with the coordination of a military parade. But the human ships were no longer where the weapons were aimed. Lieutenant Commander Yoon's destroyer Busan Lightning seemed to dance between the energy beams. Her ship moved like a fighter aircraft rather than a space vessel, rolling and diving in 3 dimensions. The alien weapons couldn't track fast enough to hit her. "Weapons officer," Yoon called out to her crew. "Target the alien flagship's main. Weapon array. Single railgun shot, minimum power." "Target locked, Commander. Firing." The Busan Lightning's main railgun fired a single projectile at 15% light speed. The metal slug was only the size of a telephone pole, but it hit the alien flagship with the force of a nuclear weapon. The impact tore through the ship's external weapon mounts like they were made of paper. Explosions rippled along the alien flagship's hull as secondary systems overloaded. In seconds, the most powerful ship in the Valtharian fleet had lost half of its weapons. Vextar felt his ship shake from the impact. "What happened? Report." "Sir, the humans fired some kind of projectile weapon. It penetrated our hull armor and destroyed weapons deck 7 through 12. "Impossible. Our armor is made from the strongest materials in the galaxy." Captain Shin's heavy cruiser Gwangju Thunder joined the battle by targeting 3 of the smaller alien escort ships. His ship's weapons were different from Yoon's railgun. Instead of solid projectiles, he used focused particle beams that could cut through any known material. "Fire control, this is the captain. 3 quick shots, cut their engines, not their life support. We're not here to commit genocide." "Understood, sir." Firing. 3 beams of concentrated particles reached across space in the blink of an eye. Each beam struck an alien ship precisely at the engine section. The alien vessels suddenly found themselves drifting helplessly in space, their power systems completely destroyed. The aliens had never seen anything like this. Their enemies usually either ran away or died quickly. They had no experience with precision strikes designed to disable rather than destroy. Admiral Kim's battleship Incheon Fury demonstrated yet another type of human weapon technology. His ship fired what looked like small missiles, but these weapons had advanced guidance systems that could change targets in flight. Launch antimatter torpedoes. Set for proximity detonation. Let's show them what real firepower looks like. 6. Torpedoes launched from the Incheon Fury. Each one was smaller than a shuttle, but they contained enough antimatter to destroy a moon. The torpedoes spread out and approached the alien fleet from different angles. Vextar watched the approaching weapons on his screen. "Intercept those missiles with our point defense systems." The alien ships opened fire with hundreds of smaller weapons designed to shoot down incoming projectiles. But the human torpedoes were too smart and too fast. They dodged the defensive fire like living creatures, weaving between the energy beams. When the torpedoes reached their target points, they detonated simultaneously. The antimatter explosions created 6 miniature suns in space around the alien fleet. The energy release was so intense that it overloaded every sensor in the Valtharian fleet. When the light faded, the aliens discovered that their entire communications network had been fried by electromagnetic pulse. Ship-to-ship communications were impossible, and their tactical coordination was completely destroyed. "Sir," the tactical officer reported in panic, "we've lost contact with the entire fleet. All communication systems are down. Our sensors are operating at 10% capacity." Vextar realized that the humans had not been trying to destroy his fleet. They had been demonstrating their capabilities. Each attack had been precisely calculated to cause maximum disruption with minimum casualties. The human ships regrouped, in formation, seemingly undamaged by the alien counterattack. Lieutenant Commander Yoon's voice came over the emergency communication channel. "Commander Vextar, this is Yoon Da-hai. Do you require assistance with your damaged vessels? The alien commander could barely speak. How did you do that? Your ships are so small. Captain Shin answered calmly. Commander, size isn't everything in space combat. Our ships are built for speed, precision, and efficiency. Your ships are built for intimidation. Admiral Kim's voice joined the conversation. Commander, you asked earlier about our military philosophy. Let me explain it simply. We build our ships to win wars, not to look impressive. But your weapons, they're so accurate, so powerful. How is this possible? Lieutenant Commander Yoon replied, We've been fighting wars for thousands of years, Commander. Every weapon system on our ships has been tested in actual combat against enemies who fought back. Your species has been at war for thousands of years? With ourselves, yes. Humans spent millennia fighting other humans. We couldn't rely on intimidation, because our enemies were just as smart as we were. We had to build better weapons, better ships, better tactics. Vextar was beginning to understand. So your military technology was developed through actual warfare, not through conquering primitive species. Exactly, Admiral Kim confirmed. Every human weapon had to work against an enemy who was trying just as hard to kill us. Natural selection applies to military technology too. The alien commander looked around his damaged bridge. His mighty flagship was crippled, his fleet was scattered, and communications were down. The 3 small human ships had accomplished in minutes what no enemy had ever managed to do. What do you want from us? Vextar asked quietly. Captain Shin's voice was diplomatic but firm. We want to complete our mission and leave your territory peacefully. We have no interest in conquest or destruction. That's all? You could destroy our entire fleet. Yes, we could, Admiral Kim acknowledged, but we prefer not to. Unnecessary destruction serves no purpose. Lieutenant Commander Yoon added, Commander, your empire rules through fear and intimidation. That works against species that haven't developed effective military technology, but it won't work against humans. Why not? Because humans aren't easily intimidated. We've seen too much war, faced too many enemies. When someone threatens us, our first instinct isn't to surrender. It's to figure out how to fight back more effectively. Vexitar sat in his command chair, surrounded by damaged equipment and confused crew members. For the first time in his military career, he had encountered an enemy that was not only unafraid of his fleet, but had casually disabled it without breaking a sweat. What happens now? He asked. Admiral Kim's answer was simple. Now, Commander, you have a choice. You can try to continue this fight and lose your entire fleet, or you can let us leave peacefully and report back to your superiors that humanity is not a species to be trifled with. Vextar looked at his tactical display, where the 3 human ships waited in perfect formation. They had demonstrated their power and were now offering him a way to save face. It was more mercy than he would have shown if their positions were reversed. We will allow you to leave our territory, he said finally. Thank you, Commander. That's a wise decision. As the human fleet prepared to escort the new soul out of the system, Vextar realized that everything he thought he knew about warfare had just been proven wrong. The most dangerous enemies were not always the biggest ones. 3 days had passed since the brief but decisive encounter between the human and Valtharian fleets. Fleet Commander Vextar sat in his private quarters aboard his damaged flagship, staring at reports from his engineering teams. The repairs would take weeks to complete. His tactical officer entered the room and saluted nervously. Commander, we have received a message from the human fleet. They are requesting permission to send a repair team to assist with our damaged ships. Vextar looked up in surprise. They want to help us repair the damage they caused? Yes, sir. The message is from Admiral Kim Jae-sung. He says they have spare parts and technical expertise that could speed up our repairs. The alien commander was quiet for a long moment. In his experience, winners in battle either destroyed their enemies completely or left them to suffer. Offering help to repair battle damage was completely outside his understanding of warfare. Tell the Admiral that we accept his offer, but I want to speak with him personally. An hour later, Vextar found himself on a video call with the human admiral. Kim Jae-sung appeared on the screen wearing a simple blue uniform without the elaborate decorations that marked Valtharian military rank. "Commander Vextar, I hope your crew is recovering well from the engagement." "Admiral Kim, I must ask you something. Why are you offering to help repair our ships? You defeated us. In Valtharian culture, the winner takes everything from the loser." Admiral Kim leaned back in his chair. "Commander, we didn't defeat you to take anything from you. We simply wanted to complete our mission safely. Now that the fighting is over, there's no reason for your crews to suffer from damaged ships. This makes no sense to me. Your species has a very strange approach to warfare. Perhaps, but our approach has served us well. Commander, may I ask you something?" "Of course. How did your empire build such a large fleet? Your ships must require enormous resources to construct and maintain." Vextar straightened with pride. "The Valtharian Empire controls 200 star systems. We have the resources of entire galaxies at our disposal. Each dreadnought takes 50 years to build and requires the combined output of 10 worlds. 50 years per ship? That's impressive dedication. But what happens if you lose one?" "Lose one?" The concept seemed to confuse the alien commander. "Our ships are invincible. We have never lost a dreadnought in battle, because no one has ever fought back effectively. But what if they did? What if you faced an enemy that could destroy your ships?" Vextar was quiet for a moment. "It would take 50 years to replace each lost vessel. The economic cost would be enormous." Admiral Kim nodded. "That's the problem with building ships for intimidation rather than efficiency. They become too valuable to risk in actual combat." "What do you mean?" "Commander, your ships are masterpieces of engineering and art. They're beautiful, impressive, and clearly very expensive. But they're also vulnerable because you can't afford to lose them." Vextar frowned. "And human ships are different?" "Very different. Our ships are built to be replaced quickly if necessary. The destroyer that damaged your flagship took only 2 years to build. If we lost it in battle, we could have 3 more built in the time it takes you to repair your current damage. But that means your ships are inferior, less powerful." Admiral Kim smiled. "Commander, which is more powerful? One giant ship that must be protected at all costs, or 10 smaller ships that can be risked in dangerous missions?" The alien commander thought about this. "The 10 smaller ships could accomplish more missions." "Exactly. And if you destroy one of our ships, we can build several more. If we destroy one of yours, your empire loses 50 years of work and the resources of 10 worlds." Lieutenant Commander Yoon's voice joined the conversation as her image appeared on a split screen. "Commander Vextar, human military thinking is based on a simple principle. Quantity has a quality all its own." "I don't understand." Captain Shin appeared on the screen as well. "Commander, imagine you have one huge sword that takes 50 years to make, and I have 10 small swords that take 1 year each to make. In a fight, I can afford to break my swords trying new tactics. You cannot afford to risk your one precious sword." Vextar was beginning to see the logic. "So you can take risks that we cannot." "Precisely," Admiral Kim confirmed. "And taking risks is how you learn to fight better. Our ships and crews get better through experience because we can afford to learn from our mistakes." "But your ships are so small. How can they be so powerful?" Lieutenant Commander Yoon answered. "Commander, we learned long ago that bigger isn't always better. A small, fast ship with accurate weapons can defeat a large, slow ship with inaccurate weapons. Your weapons were incredibly precise. How do you achieve such accuracy?" Captain Shin explained. "Our targeting systems were developed through thousands of years of human conflict. Every generation of weapons had to be better than the last, or the people using them would lose and die." "Evolution through warfare," Vextar said quietly. "Exactly. Commander, your empire conquered species that had never seen ships like yours. They surrendered before fighting because your ships looked invincible. But humans have been fighting each other for millennia. We know that nothing is truly invincible." Admiral Kim continued the explanation. "When humans see a powerful enemy, we don't think about surrendering. We think about finding weaknesses and exploiting them. And you found weaknesses in our ships? Many weaknesses, Yoon replied. Your ships are too big to maneuver quickly. Your weapons are too slow to track fast targets. Your armor is thick but brittle. Your power systems are centralized and vulnerable. Vextar felt a chill run down his spine. You analyzed all of this during our first meeting? Of course. That's what military officers do. We study enemy capabilities and develop countermeasures. The alien commander was quiet for several minutes, processing everything he had learned. Finally, he spoke again. Admiral Kim, what will happen when you return to Earth? Will your government plan an invasion of our territory? Commander, humans have no interest in conquering your empire. We have enough problems managing our own territory. Then, what do you want? Trade, perhaps. Scientific exchange, cultural communication. There are many benefits to peaceful contact between species. Vextar was amazed. You don't want to rule us? Captain Shin answered. Commander, ruling an empire is expensive and difficult. Why would we want to take on that burden? We prefer to let other species govern themselves while we focus on our own development. This is very different from Valtharian philosophy. Yes, it is. Commander, may I make a suggestion? Please do. Admiral Kim leaned forward. Your empire's military doctrine works well against primitive species, but it won't work against advanced ones. You might want to consider developing more flexible approaches to conflict resolution. You mean we should change our entire military strategy? I mean, you should consider that intimidation only works against enemies who can be intimidated. Some species, like humans, respond to threats by becoming more dangerous. Lieutenant Commander Yoon added, Commander, the galaxy is a big place with many different types of civilizations. The tactics that work in one situation might not work in another. Vexitar nodded slowly. This conversation has been very educational. Admiral, I have much to report to my superiors. Commander, we hope this can be the beginning of better relations between our species. The universe is dangerous enough without unnecessary conflicts. As the communication ended, Vextar sat alone in his quarters thinking about everything he had learned. His empire had built a military designed to frighten primitives into submission, but they had never encountered a species that fought back effectively. The humans had taught him that the most dangerous enemies were often the ones who looked harmless. Their small ships had casually disabled his mighty fleet and then offered to help repair the damage. It was a demonstration of power that was more impressive than any show of force. 3 days later, as the human repair teams finished their work on the Valtharian ships, Vextar watched the human fleet prepare to leave the system. The 3 small ships looked as unremarkable as ever, but now he knew what they were capable of. Admiral Kim's final message was simple. Commander, we hope to meet again under more peaceful circumstances. The galaxy is large enough for all of us. As the human ships disappeared into hyperspace, Vextar began composing his report to the Valtharian High Command. He had much to tell them about humanity, and most of it would be very difficult for them to believe. The most important lesson was the simplest. In the game of interstellar warfare, the most dangerous opponents were often the smallest ones. Humans had proven that efficiency was more powerful than intimidation, and that the ability to build good ships quickly was more valuable than building perfect ships slowly. The Valtharian Empire would need to reconsider many things if they wanted to survive in a galaxy where species like humanity existed. The age of ruling through fear alone was coming to an end.